Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our interview with David Asermely. David is the Global Model Risk Management Lead at SAS, driving strategic conversations with global institutions and influencing the SAS Model Risk Management Solution roadmap. He is passionate about translating data into actionable intelligence, and he focuses on combining the best technologies and design principles to improve modeling efficiency and quality. David, thank you for coming to our interview today.
Hi, Boris. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to have this conversation.
Absolutely. SAS is an analytics leader and has been named one of the top risk and compliance technology providers by Chartis for 15 consecutive years. It ranked fifth overall in the global Chartis Risk 100 2021 report and won 3 industry solution categories, where model risk management being one of the 3. Based on that, we invited David Asermely to talk about the importance of the MRM discipline, as well as some of the current challenges and trends. David, to get us started, when introducing model risk management to a business level audience, can you describe the role MRM plays to manage and govern firms' model lifecycle?
Absolutely. When you really think of the role of model risk management, to summarize it, it's to identify models that should be replaced, that are hurting your business, that are not providing the value that they should. We've just been working on a white paper that is talking around the importance of model risk management and what it brings an organization. And one of the analogies that we developed in the paper is your models are your digital workforce. And model risk management makes sure that your workforce is of the highest quality, that is performing tasks as appropriate. And when you really think of that model risk manager, the model risk manager's job is to independently review the models and identify ones that should not be used.
All right. So do you see robust model risk management as a competitive advantage in current situation and current development with analytics tools?
Absolutely. To me, that's like asking, can analytics be a competitive advantage? So if you have one organization that has better overall model quality, that is removing models that are performing poorly, you are going to have a competitive advantage over an organization that does not have models that are performing. So from a competitive advantage perspective, model risk management brings to an organization an additional level of certainty to the modeling process that drives value up and down the model operations perspective and also to the business perspective.
Mm-hmm. So it seems that most model risk has been focused on the larger banking and insurance firms, mainly in North America and Europe. Why hasn't it been more prevalent in other industries?
So there have been a number of regulations in the financial markets, partly by, it's been very clear, over the last couple decades that models can create not only risk to a firm, but to the global financial system. So there have been regulations that are continue to be enforced at these organizations on understanding where your models are, how they're performing, having that independent review associated with the model to bring that additional rigor and perspective to the modeling process. It's interesting, as I attend a number of these conversations, over the last several years, you can see the level of sophistication continues to rise in the world of model risk management. especially as machine learning models become more prevalent. Things need to be done more efficiently, yet still provide that critical information to these organizations. We have had a number of conversations outside of the financial markets to organizations that do, again, use models. We've actually been talking to a number and actually have sold our product to one of the postal services globally. And, that may seem strange, but, think of how many models that they're currently using. So the financial markets and those regulations have been working on model risk management for a number of years. There are some best practices that have been developed. And now we're seeing other industries wanting to take a look at what those best practices are and seeing how they can be implemented so they increase the quality of analytics that they're using within their organization.
Mm-hmm. So we know all that the subprime crisis and the reliance on models at that time. Can you give us some examples of what might happen if MRM goes wrong? I saw your last not yet published white paper with nice images of a Swedish ship went down only a few minutes after his, he was kind of delivered to the public. And it was very interesting to know that is kind of also related to model risk management.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So that white paper, we had some fun on it. And one of the things that we focused on is, historic examples of where model risk, proper model risk management would have helped avoid a disaster. So interesting read, and I welcome you all to take a look at it. We'll be publishing it very shortly. But one of the tenets of model risk management is understanding what could go wrong with that model. What is the the absolute risk that could be associated with poor model risk management. One of the things that is required in the domain of model risk management is to stress a model in various ways, to look at different data, extreme conditions on the different features of the model. And by doing this type of a stress test, it often flushes out the potential that a model can, the potential damage that a model can cause within an organization. The subprime crisis, a very good example. There's an analogy that I heard and I loved it on the subprime, and it's where investors were picking up pennies in front of a steamroller, and it was free money right there. Of course, at some point that steamroller hit the gas pedal and did hurt a number of investors. So from a model risk management perspective, one of the most important aspects of the whole process of governing a model is understanding, what is the potential damage that can be done? Is it financial? Is it reputational? Is it a combination of the two? Is there a possibility that a model can have, you're on the front page of the Wall Street Journal because your model has gender bias type pieces? And these risks are only exacerbated with machine learning, in which there's a capability of taking in a lot of other data that maybe historically has not been brought in. So it's understanding, again, the total risk that is being taken by a firm by using that model. But the other aspect is knowing the conditions in which a model will work properly. So for example, if a model's performance starts to degrade quickly when interest rates get closer to zero, then that's something that should be understood. And as those market conditions move in that way, the model should be flagged, highlighted, and possibly decommissioned and replaced.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Looking at the new technologies and new buzzwords, including alternative data, open source languages, AI and machine learning, and cloud, what does MRM offer to enable firms to manage and orchestrate, introducing in the structured approach to model governance?
Great question. So my view of model risk management, and as we've within SAS have developed our product, and I believe one of the reasons we have ranked to be the top vendor in this space is we've developed a solution that is able to work within your existing ecosystem. So it works with all types of models, SAS models, of course, but also your open source, Python models, R models, actually as spreadsheets. So the capability to be a single repository that you can govern your entire set of models in one location. I think that's extremely important. The other thing that we have focused on is the ability for that entire model lifecycle to be seamlessly connected to those tools. Okay, so one example is, and I get asked this question often: how can I be, you have this great model risk system, but how can you ensure that models that are active and being used in production are actually, approved in the model risk system? And the answer is by connecting that system to your model ops in a way that requires that MRM sign off before a model is moved into production and used. One of the other areas that we've focused on is automating as much of the model risk system as possible. So collecting data on when the model is used in a systematic, automated way. This reduces, and when we look at how this is done in the past, it was manual. It was done very infrequently. Now with the machine learning, your performance monitoring has to be done more frequently, and there are more of those models. So unless you plan on hiring more analysts, you better find a way to help automate your system in the world of model risk management. So we have very advanced APIs that allow you to connect across your system, across your various platforms. So, I would say those are some of the capabilities, but as as machine learning, as more data sources become available, it's extremely important to understand, where the data is coming from. Are there any problems with that data that will affect the model? And if that is the case, have a way in which the MRM system can react, and then if guided to or coded this way, have that model shut down for additional review. So trying to have as much automation as possible across your model ops system in a way that provides usable data for your model risk management team.
Mm-hmm. So what does the future MRM offer firms and can it adapt across a range of firms and industries, as you already started to describe? Maybe give some example without dropping names. What are you guys really achieved, and you proud of your last project, just to understand what your current workload is?
Yeah. So let me just, one of the areas that we're really focused on is if you ask most firms where their model risk data is located, they're going to tell you it's in some database somewhere, maybe even on some spreadsheets. Okay. And, there's a team that works with that data. They try to, if there are regulations, they try to meet those regulations and meet the requirements of the regulator. But in many cases, that data, is not accessible across an organization. So what we have done is we've developed a model summary card. And what this card does is it pulls in the most important information from a model risk perspective on that given model. So for example, simple things like the model name, the version of the model, what is the data sources associated, who are the stakeholders, what has been the last validation rating, where has the model been used, is the model being overlaid, is there overrides associated with that model, are there critical findings open on this model. And so this card is accessible via API calls across an organization. So if you have a model user, in another country, and they're running the model, they simply can hover over an icon on that application. It can be any application that has API capability, and this model card will pop up. And so it's really extracting the most important data. So if I'm a model user and I pull up that card and I see that there's a critical finding on the model, that may result in maybe not using the model, doing some inquiries, or at least be some hesitancy on the output of the model. Is it something that should be used to make a big bet, for example, for that model user? So we're really working hard on creating a common MRM language that can be understood across an organization, that's focused on the wellness of the model, and then making that that information available via APIs. We believe this will help kind of bring MRM to the forefront within the whole modeling community in a way that's constructive, in a way that will improve the overall usage and quality of a given model, and will alert in real time the users of the model of potential problems. And in my mind, that's the real benefit of investing in model risk management, is providing that type of information as you go forward. And a lot of this will be automated as well. So having the capability where if you have models that are making decisions for you, right, automatic decisions, loan applications, for example, having the kind of capability in real time to adjust a model or turn a model off if needed, or require human review in a way that prevents losses from racking up. And this happens often. There was a recent example, again with COVID, where airlines have models that predict or give you your pricing when you look to purchase a flight. And though they're looking at a lot of different information, the models were dramatically lowering prices because there was less orders coming in to buy airline tickets, and the models just had a history where if there were seats available, prices would continue to go down. Not knowing, it didn't matter how low the prices went, people were not going to be flying, as COVID was breaking out. So again, having your MRM system in a place where it can make a difference to your bottom line and prevent reputational damage.
Let me maybe finish. Let's finish. I have would like to hear your personal opinion. What is a commonly held belief as it relates to your area of expertise, like model risk management, that you strongly disagree with?
So what is an area of model risk management that I strongly disagree with?
What is a commonly held belief as it relates to?
Yeah, sure. I have one. So, so Boris, I do talk to a number of organizations that use models. And there are some organizations that they look at model risk as a cost. And I would argue that it's a cost of doing business. Models bring automation, consistency to an organization. It provides information that allows them to better compete. model risk management helps in that process and provides data to utilize those models in a more effective way. I think the other area that I like to kind of discuss, or my disagreement is proper and automated MRM actually allows you to save across an entire model lifecycle. So for an example, if I am a model developer, there are things I have to document. If I am a validator, there are things I have to document. Okay. If you ask a developer, a validator, what's the job that they hate the most? It's documentation. And there's other, right? And it's other areas where these highly skilled, expensive, members of your team are required to do a lot of boring, repeatable, mundane pieces of steps. Having a model risk management system allows you to take a look at those and reduce the manual effort, automate some of the documentation associated with it. You're always going to need that expert in this process, but model risk management allows the expert to focus on providing that expertise to the process, not doing some of the mundane components that typically are being asked. And this kind of goes up, right down the chain. Interesting, some of my recent conversations have been with the audit teams at a number of the larger banks. And imagine being a model auditor. And so your job is you're going to see and make sure that the policy was followed for a given model. This auditor may be internal, or it could be a highly priced consultant. They start the work, and often the first thing that has to happen is identifying the model's history. I want all the documents. I want to know who's using this model. I want to know where the data is coming from. And typically this requires emailing several individuals, someone's out on vacation. So there's a lot of, kind of wasted time to collect all the information. Imagine having an MRM system where, the history is complete. The model's complete history has been recorded and available to the auditor. All the documentation is available. We can see what are the data inputs of the model. We can look at the downstream components of the model. We can view it from a risk profile for the modeling system, not just that individual model. So there's really, for organizations that do this well, there is value that's brought across an organization. The last example is, having a report that shows you your model risk, how well you're doing that. This is an area where many organizations have, senior people spending a number of hours trying to create a report, where if you can have that automated and available at any time, it provides, tremendous value. I guess the last example, maybe this is also a good one, is, one of the questions that has come up over the last year. Would the tool allow me to identify models, let's say that was required, that used LIBOR, had some assumptions based on LIBOR? Imagine the project that is required to answer that question within an organization. With the proper MRM system, that's something you can get within hours, if the system is up to date.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you, David, and for taking your time today and participating in our kind of risk management show. And I wish you and your team at SAS a great success and growing your company and collecting more awards and successes in the past, in the path. So perhaps we can come back in a few months and see your development with your new kind of system.
Boris, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and your audience. And I look forward to having the conversation again.
Absolutely. Thank you, David.